There's a new highest paid tight end in history, and he plays in Kansas City. Travis Kelce's new deal today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. If the draft isn't enough for you, now the Chiefs have to go and give a deal out. We're going to cover it in its entirety and take a look ahead a little bit today on Locked On Chiefs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day, where you can like, sub, and hit the bell here on YouTube. Subscribe over on the podcast feeds on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on any audio platform you can find. We're brought to you today by Monopoly Go. You can get into it right now and have your competitive side come out. As a big fan of Monopoly Go, you can hit the mobile twist on it, on that classic game. Join your friends or play against them at Monopoly Go, free on the App Store or Google Play. You can get us everywhere. You can subscribe to Chris's channel at Chiefs Corner. You can get with me over at NFL 33, where we're putting out league-wide content, as well as Rogue APC. If you want to get a flashback on the draft class, you can get that there, as well as RGR Football. Join us on the text line if you want that much more information at 816-357-8781. Lot to cover here, and we're going to take a look ahead at rookie minicamp. A lot of tryout players, a lot of guys that could make a name for themselves. We'll get to that coming up. But before that, we'll get to what does the tight end room look like in its entirety at this point. And first and foremost, that all comes with tight end one, who happens to be not just tight end one on this roster, but now historically the highest paid tight end, both career and average earnings, right? I'm pretty certain it's going to be career as well. Chris will pop in here and tell us in just a second.
Yeah, I think it could be career. I will say this. It was reported originally it was an extension. It is not an extension. It is just redoing his pay for 2024 and 2025. As of right now, what we know, he will make $17 million guaranteed in 2024. It's possible that it will change his salary cap number. Other than just adding the $4 million, it's possible there's some signing bonus there that would throw some different money in there. But right now, as I've got it calculated, a signing bonus, his current cap number should be around $19.5 million for 2024, assuming there isn't a signing bonus in this. If they're just paying him extra, then that's a little bit of a different story. He already had to think about a $2.3 or $2.4 million proration on his current contract for the signing bonus. So it'd be $17 million plus that to the cap for 2024.
It's a pretty healthy deal and good for him. I mean, you can't really say that anyone doesn't deserve it after his accolades in his career. It was a big day for the Kelce brothers in general. His brother joining the Monday Night Football crew, folks, if you didn't see that as well. Yep. Jason Kelce coming to an MNF game near you and certainly near us. But when you take a step back and look at not just career earnings, but, the Hall of Fame conversation, everything that's gone into it now, his season streak coming to a close last year, yet still getting this pay bump. What does that tell you about what the organization is thinking long-term? Because for me, it gives me a little bit of a question mark. Like, is this speeding along the road to retirement? That's my concern.
It's hard to know. I think that it's, when it was first reported as an extension, it was the thought that he's not going to be anywhere else other than Kansas City. At this point, he's going to be on the salary cap for 19.5 this year, and around that next year, I believe. I don't think that there's much of a change next year. I think they're just giving him a $4 million pay bump this year. And so the question does become, what happens in 2 years when he's not under contract anymore? I will say he will have to decide, and he will have to let the team know before the start of the league year or right at the start of the league year, because there is a bonus in there to where it basically makes everything guaranteed at a certain point. I think it's the third day of the league year next year. So something to watch for there, but I would imagine that he's just going to play out the next 2 years of his contract, and we'll see whether or not they get another extension done or not, or if he's going to be done after 2 more years. The interesting thing to me is you start looking at where he is stats-wise. It's possible he's the number 2 overall tight end in yardage by the time this current contract is done. he would have to probably play 3 or 4 more years to have a chance to beat Tony Gonzalez.
And that's probably something significant as we go down. We'll see what the wear and tear comes down to. And we're going to talk about the tight end room as a whole here coming up after this first break here, folks. And that's going to be part of goes to longevity for Travis Kelce. What can they do to support and give him a little bit of a boost for that third season maybe? I thought Patrick Mahomes really kind of laid it out there that when he tweeted, hey, that I wasn't going to let this guy go. So it sounds like he feels like this is locking him at least for, if not the 4 or 5 years he might need for those numbers, but certainly for his career. And I think that goes towards intention. Maybe not. We'll just have to play it by ear and see where he is physically. But I make the distinction between what actually happens and what they want to happen, and that is that Travis finishes his career in Kansas City.
Yeah, and I think that both of those things, I think that the team and Travis wants that to happen. The question just becomes, is he going to want to play 2 more or another couple of years after this season? If he does, then they're going to have to do some kind of extension at that point. And I don't think that there's going to be any issue with Kansas City or Travis getting an extension done. I think both of them are going to want him still here. So as long as that's the case, then he'll still be playing in Kansas City. And I don't think that's going to change. I don't think he wants to be leaving Kansas City, not with what everything else that's been going on. With you look at, them chasing a 3rd consecutive ring, Chris Jones signing probably to be in his entirety in Kansas City, his entire career. Patrick Mahomes still being under contract for another several years. Andy Reid being here through 2029. I mean, all these things are going to line up to me to say that Kelce still wants to be here and that the team's going to want him here. So I don't think that's going to be changing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we'll get to the end of this and it'll probably be a 1-year kind of thing and just see what happens. A lot of positivity there, but how can they make that happen and wring every last snap out of this career path?
Interestingly enough, this is the first time in his career he's been the highest paid tight end.
Yeah. It's an accomplishment
for
him. And
it's never
for a
been
guy
the case.
that age, you want to be able to say that once, right?
Yeah, and Brett Veach said right after it was announced that he had seen Kelce out on the field, and Kelce looks like a 28-year-old tight end. So if that's truly the case, people have been talking about Travis Kelce losing a couple of steps over the past couple seasons. Let's not forget he played all of last season on a bum knee. I don't think he was ever 100%. So I don't know how much he really has lost. I know it's been a step. I'm not going to say it hasn't been, but I don't think it's near as much as some people thought it was.
I think it's more gradual than we'd hoped. That the injury, I think, kind of clouded that pretty well. But what can they do to support him, and how do they take that to the entire tight end room? We're going to get to that coming up next on Locked On Podcast Network.
All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You already talked about that. But there's just so much good stuff in this game. You got to go check it out. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together to build each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's also something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it for free on the Google App Store, the Google Play Store, or the App Store. Game on.
You also want to get in there and get after the Locked On Sports Today feed, because whether you're tired of watching the talking heads on ESPN or NFL Network and you want something local, a little bit more informed, and you want it across the league, you can get it 24/7 on Locked On Sports Today. The feed is here on the YouTube platform as well as Amazon Fire TV. You can search that up and get it whenever you like. Now, I, for one, am glad that to see Travis get that iconic kind of top paid tight end, number one earner, et cetera, but it's not my focus. I want to wring every last snap out of Travis Kelce that we possibly could see And I want to make sure that they have the support system in place to do that. I think there are a couple of things feeding into that. One, they had this, the player survey from last year where you needed to do something to the training staff to augment that. Now, Travis is a superstar. I'm sure he has enough support off the field outside of the organization that he's able to make up for some of that. But I do want to see them double down on the soft tissue work, on everything they can to rejuvenate and keep the stress off of the body until we get into the season. I don't even care if he goes to training camp or not. Like, I'm amazed that he's at OTAs. He doesn't need any of it. So I'm okay with that. But how important do you think it is the physical care? Right.
He needs to be there to help the young guys. No, he doesn't. And you're right. He knows what he's supposed to be doing. But the other part of what he does when he's in OTAs is he's showing the younger guys how things should be done. And it's not just the minutia of running the right routes. It's where you're hitting your cut, how you're using your body and your body control to not show people where you're going. It's all the small things that we don't ever really get into the nitty gritty on. That's the type of things that those guys are needing to learn. And Wiley is going to be learning a lot from Kelce in the next couple of weeks. It was interesting. The Chiefs announced all of the rookie numbers today. So if you're looking for that, go check that out on Twitter. They do have that out there. Wiley is going to be number 12. And also interesting today, although we're not talking about wide receivers, it looks like Worthy is out there working currently, getting ready for rookie camp, which we'll talk about here in a couple minutes.
We're number 1. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that. I like that just fine. Besides the physical care and the taking some reps off in practice and training camp, it is about not only target share, but snap share come the season. And I think that the plan has to be to have a slow and steady ramp up to the playoff run where he's playing his most late in the season. That should be the goal for me. In order to do that, though, you have to have other guys step up. And that's why we need to take a look back. If you take a look at the current tight end room, there's options there, mostly that we know. Obviously, right now, Noah Gray is going to be his primary backup. And we know what Noah can do, and we know what he can't do. They brought in Irv Smith, who I think is another journeyman guy that you probably know what he can do. I don't think he's going to surprise you a ton, but he can take some snaps off of Travis's plate and give him a rest early in the season. And I do like that. They still have Garrett Prince as well as Isaiah Gathings on the roster. Matt Bushman has not been re-signed, so that is the tight end room except for the rookie. And so that becomes even more apparent, not just rookie camp here, but the next 6 weeks as OTAs unfurl. How much do we get force-fed Jared Wiley? And I think if we do see that, that is another indication that they're trying to get him into the mix as soon as possible. And I like the concept. You tell me if I'm crazy. The underrated aspect of Jared Wiley's game is that he can block at times. He's not as a true Y. He's not like coming in like Michael Mayer where you think he can just wallop blocks all the time. But he's way farther along than Travis or Noah was when they came into the league. And I think he's functional enough that as he gets situated, he can take some of that now.
Yeah, and his body, the build of his body, and if he could add a couple more pounds, I think that's really going to help with his blocking as well. I think he can step in and really take the Blake Bell role to an extent. He's not going to be the blocker that Bell was, but he gives you more in the passing game, and I think that's where really the value is. What I'm curious about is to see how many times they trot out Wiley and Kelce out there and maybe even Noah Gray and go 2 and 3 tight end sets with these guys and see how they feed off of each other. And maybe you're going out there with Gray and Wiley and you're letting Kelce get a couple of snaps off and you have Brown and Worthy on the field at the same time. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do with the pieces that they have on offense. That's what gets exciting about all of this.
Yeah, the addition of this draft class with a prominent tight end backup and then obviously a wide receiver that is probably able to walk in at the 4th or 5th spot and may eventually in this season earn a starting role in some games. I think that's well within the possibility, and having all those tools to work with, I think allows you to, like you said, play around with it, get formations that de-emphasize Travis early in the season and build on it. Now, hopefully He doesn't,
and if
hyperextend the knee the day before a game or anything like that.
Right. And if you do that, and if you get them involved early and they're able to contribute early on, that gives them even more growth for later in the season and for the playoffs and getting ready for all of that. That's what's really important, is getting these young guys, not Noah Gray. Noah's been there, but getting Wiley ready for the playoffs, getting a guy like Irv Smith Jr. ready for the playoffs if he makes the roster, which I do think he probably will. I do think that the 4 tight ends is something that they probably want to do. But then you also talk about, obviously, the receivers, getting Worthy there, getting Brown there, getting them all ready to go and ready to play deep in the season, because Kansas City is always looking at the season as they don't really I think they want to win all their games, but I don't think Reed cares about going 13-4 or 14-3 or 15-2. I think he wants to get the wins that he needs to get 11, 12 wins, somewhere in there. And at that point, just probably skate by and realize we're going to be ready for the playoffs. We're going to be ready for a Super Bowl run. It'd be great to be in the number 1 seed, but if we're not, we have the ability to go out and do it otherwise.
Yeah. Too much emphasis placed on the regular season, take away from last season and the season before that and the season before that. I got to try to remember that when we do our predictions later this summer, folks. We're going to have that as we get ready for training camp, as we run down all of what's coming, all the position group reviews. We're doing that now, obviously, for the newcomers. We're going to take a long, hard look at all of it, and the tight end room will be at the top of it. But in order to get to that point in the season, we got to get through rookie minicamp and all of the OTAs. So we're going to dig into what we're hoping to see here, not only this week, but next weekend and the week after that. Coming up next on Locked On Podcast Network. It certainly is playoff time, and if you're a fan of the NBA, whether it's the Nuggets and Joker going off, whether it's the NHL, which I'm really into right now, the Avs are on into the second round, and they are still favored to win this round. And whether you're up by just a smidge or not, that's money that I'll put in the bank, because I think the Avs are going to roll. And now that baseball's in full swing, you have all your options on the table. With FanDuel, you can place your bet on every single one of those games. And right now, new customers are getting $150 back in bonus bets onto their account, guaranteed. That's it. $150 back no matter what, win or lose. Everything's there. From the slap shots, the 5-holers, home runs, slam dunks, 3-pointers, all of it. And it's all safe, secure, and easy to use on the app. So what are you waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win, whether it's on the Avs or the Nugs, or maybe I'm just living in Denver too much, but those are the teams that I'm thinking about. It's all over at FanDuel, and America's number one sportsbook. So as we get ready and get our first glimpse at some new Kansas City Chiefs, make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today feed so you can see around the league at everything that's going on. We have not run down the drafts for our other division foes. We will get to that in coming shows as well, folks. But today, really what we want to look for in rookie camp. Do you have a feel right now for what's the number one thing you want to see?
Number thing I want to see is the new left tackle. I want to see Kingsley out at left tackle. I want to see how that goes through. The problem is with minicamp is you can go out there and you can try to run through plays, but you're really not going to get a really good feel for where guys are until you get into training camp when they're actually having the pads on. So, it's going to be fun to have them out there at left tackle and be getting those snaps and going through and doing all those things. But, obviously Worthy is going to be exciting to see. Do you get a glimpse of what he's able to bring to this roster with the deep speed? Is he going to catch a couple of balls deep? I would imagine probably so. But that also comes down to can the quarterback get it there? And it's a tryout player, so it's not like he's going to have Mahomes throwing to him. So there is going to be some of that. So we'll see how it turns out. But I'm just excited to see this class in general and just see what we get from this class, because really when you're getting into this part of the season, when you're talking rookie minicamp, it's okay, which rookies can stand out? Can your new guys that you just drafted stand out? that would be fantastic. But then are there some undrafted free agents that maybe you didn't sign to a contract that come in and win a job? That would be awesome too.
It would. And for those of you that are looking for the same thing, I certainly want to see some sparks fly too. But for Mr. Worthy, Xavier, if you're watching, I know you're super fast. We all know how fast you are. I'm just going to give you this piece of advice before McCole gets a chance to tell you. Just keep running, okay? That's what you got to do. I don't care where you think the ball's supposed to go. Just keep running. And I think we will get a glimpse of that.
Yeah, you can't outrun Pat's arm. That's the big thing. You're not going to be able to. Yeah, no, and the other part of it is, what do you get from the other guys? Like, you start looking at the defense. The defense really kind of has a little bit of an advantage because they're just going out there and playing defense. I mean, yeah, you have to know the scheme a little bit, but it's a little easier knowing the defensive scheme than it would be going in and trying to learn, okay, where exactly am I supposed to be on these routes? How am I supposed to do tempo? And you know, the quarterback has got to put it at the exact spot for the pass and all that. So defensively, what do we see from the defensive guys? You know, what does Hicks show this week? What is, you know, the undrafted linebacker that looked like he should have been a draft pick in the mid rounds? What does he show?
Yeah. I want to see Haddon in particular, especially with Worthy out there. You know, the guys that I think are going to have the easiest time are going to be Suamatia, Norzad, and CJ Hansen, because there's just not enough defensive linemen. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is a passing camp. So it's about the skill guys one-on-ones. And I do agree with you on Hicks, what he can do to just take a look, especially knowing that he didn't get a chance to play against Worthy. He's played against some good speed, obviously. Played against Roma Dunze, familiarity there. Had some good receivers also in Troy Franklin and other guys around the Pac-12. But Worthy's a different layer of speed. And with Mahomes throwing in the ball, I think there's going to be some interesting moments for the D-backs in this coming minicamp.
Well, it'll be interesting once they get to OTAs and Mahomes is throwing the ball to Worthy. But I'm curious, you know, what do you see from a guy like Miles Battle? Look at the size that you're bringing in at corner at that position. How does he use that size, and how does it stick out when you go into camp or when you go into this rookie mini camp? Because his size is going to be very – he's one of the biggest corners. He'd be one of the biggest corners in the NFL in general.
I mean,
6'4"
he's got –
in his length.
I was 6'03", I think, just barely 6'3".
Okay,
but
I thought
still,
I saw somebody said he's 6'4".
That's enormous. I mean, he's huge. It's going to be a challenge. I want to see who takes the punt returns. That's the other thing. I want to see who shows some spark in that way, because yes, you can pencil Worthy in, but you're looking for someone else to take that onto. And Remigio, I think he'll have a chance because of the injury. If he's cleared, he could participate. I don't know that I think that he will. I'm actually interested to see that.
And that's a great point, is how many players do they have that were first-year guys that didn't really play last year that are allowed to participate in this rookie camp? Because there are some of those that usually are able to go year after year. The second year, because they didn't really play that much. So that Remigio could be there. There could be a couple other players. I'm going to be interested to see what that roster looks like. And we probably won't get that roster until Saturday, because that's generally when it shows up on Twitter. We see a roster and there's 60 or 70 players on it. It's just ridiculous how many players they ended up having out there for that.
I think the last thing that I'm looking forward to is I want to see Carson Steele run the ball. I don't know that he's going to get a whole lot of touches in the running back rotation. I do think he has the best chance of the UDFAs to make it in the running back room. I know everybody's excited about a couple of other guys, but I do think they're a little bit longer, a little bit too close to what Pacheco and Clyde do, whereas Steele's a kind of a different breed. So I just want to see how it all looks.
Shocker that you want to see Steele out there running.
I know.
Trying to get your fullback on the roster.
You. Yeah, absolutely. I don't have to try too hard. He'll be fine.
We will see. Carrying 4 tight ends is going to be tight if they are able to carry 4 running backs again.
I do not anticipate 7 wide receivers, so I'm comfortable at this point. We will find out.
But I expect at least I expect at least 8 offensive linemen, if not 9. So it could still be an issue.
Yeah. And we'll get closer to that as we get through, folks. But we'd like to know what you're looking for rookie minicamp. Put it in the comments here on YouTube. Put it in the iTunes reviews. Put it on the Spotify reviews. Whatever you like, we'd like to see it. You can get us at Locked On Chiefs on Twitter as well. I'm sorry, X. Keep forgetting that. That's it for us today. Thank you for being with us. But if you leave your comments and you like and sub and hit the bell, you're fulfilling all of our unwritten YouTube agreements here, which we would very much appreciate. Hit Chiefs Corner as well as RGR Football and NFL 33 and Rogue APC. All of it is there all the time. Thank you for being with us today. Matt Derek's going to join us coming up this week, and we're going to continue to look at the new players on this roster, post-draft and rookie camp. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you